It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. If you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special path tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Well, hey, everyone. Big thanks to Derek of Baker 6 Clan and for the opening, and our featured patrons, TWH Rider, Arnott Family, S. Seiler, Coon and Bud, Motorima, Bloody Cool, Traveling Geek, Life is a Horse on a Boat. Oh, sorry. Life is a Horse on a Boat. Two separate people. JR and Juju. And our new patrons, Homer CF, BA Wag 75, Roomba Cats, Stark AZ, MP Dreyer, Fishing Kitty, Wendland Bunch. I saw she was in the chat room. And Jasperie. So let's jump right into show 254 as we discuss cache types part 1.
I think we need to make a new rule that all the patrons have to give us a story of what their name is.
Right.
Come up with their name. I always want to know what their name is. Like, you assume AZ stands for Arizona, but it really may not.
It might be. Not yet. I think it is.
Maybe something totally different.
Right. How do Roomba cats? How, do the cats ride on the Roomba? Is that what's going on?
Well, we've heard the story, but most people have not, right? So
maybe that's true.
We need to know. I always need to know what it is.
That's right. Okay. We're back after a couple weeks. Well, for me, it was a couple weeks. You were on 2 weeks ago.
No, not last. Last week was 4th of July.
Yeah. So you're on the week before that.
Of course, obviously, I had to make it about a challenge. As soon as you leave, I'm going to make it about a challenge, even though it's not Challenge Talk. I was on Challenge Talk too, though.
I saw that. I saw that too. I saw that you do.
I'm going to always make it about a challenge anytime I get a chance to take over. So
yeah, and I think the response has been great. People have really got excited about this.
I've seen some GTN 45 showing up on the different platforms.
Yeah, so. The GTN 45, man, and people telling me that, hey, did you do whatever in New Mexico? I was like, yeah, I did. It was Direwolf. And he goes, yep, there it is. And Direwolf, how hard was theirs? You did 6. I did 6. We did part of a power run.
Yeah.
And he goes, were they difficult? I was like, what do you think? Of course they were difficult. It's me out in the middle of, out in the middle of nowhere, walking, quite a ways for me. And I'm not in the best shape yet. So I was hoofing, and we were up at.
It satisfies that part of the challenge, right?
Exactly. Well, and one of the things, we had a great time, by the way. We had people have had a lot of weird weather going on. It rained almost every single day we're in New Mexico. Almost every single day.
Ah, it's wild.
Yeah. So we pivoted. We went to different places, and it was cold and wet and rainy in July.
It was the opposite where we were. So Christy and I and Miley were out in Vegas visiting Hallie, and it was 115 degrees.
Yeah.
So
that's insane.
I'm not going to steal her thunder because she'll put it out for her because she's doing. It's cheating if I do it because I've done all those things before, right?
Right.
So we're going to up the ante, and she's going to have to do all of them. She's going to have to hide the caches. She's going to have to do all that stuff on her own. Solve the everything else. But she did a few of the things while we were in Vegas, and again, I'm not going to give away everything, but she worked on hiding one, and she also worked on doing one. But it was easy in Vegas to do the physical fitness one,
right?
Because it was 115 degrees.
Oh my gosh!
When you're walking, and everywhere you walk, like we walked a mile to do one of these things, and it's just flat ground. And we walking up mountains, but not at 115 degrees. So
no,
it was rough. So we've got a bunch of notes she's going to put out on social media, of course, but she's also looking at hiding one of her two there.
Right.
So, which I'm not going to say anything about it, but it is going to be a waymark, which is obviously one, a new one. So how many waymarks has anybody hidden, right? So,
yeah. Waymarkly's out there. It's in the news.
We use it in Vegas.
Very cool. Yes, the Waymarkly app is out. Check it out if you're an iOS user. Go to the App Store and put in Waymarkly, LY, and you'll find it and buy it.
And it works exactly like Cachely.
Yes,
it does. Perfect. We used it, and
looks just.
I'm not going to act like waymarks are the best.
No,
but they but it works perfect for what they are.
Yeah, right? Here's the
there's the app. Obviously that looks just like Cachely, right? Like Nick built it perfectly. It works perfectly well.
Exactly.
That they update the whole system because it's not special right now.
No.
And I'm trying to be nice about it, right? But it's antiquated. It's very antiquated.
Yeah.
However, it's usable now, which is good. Now we have a chance to update it because it has stuff that the rest of caching doesn't have, like the scavenger hunts and stuff like the team challenge stuff, which they've kind of been playing around with. So, So what Tom said, yep.
Yeah, get Waymarkly
to support Nick anyway.
Just support Nick. Yeah. Even if you're not going to use it, just instead of tipping him this time, because you should tip him at least, every other month. You should send a tip his way.
Don't tell Nick, but if it was a subscription service to Cachely, I'd still pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
He only charges a one-time fee of $5, but you know what? I would pay for it. Don't tell him that though. Maybe he won't watch this one.
Yeah.
I would have trouble caching if Cachely was down from other two.
Tip Nick, not cows. That's perfect. Yes. Or do both. Tip cows and Nick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Derek and our producer mentioned that you can become a patron for Nick as well. So that's very cool. Yeah. Hey, there's always, he'd have to write it from scratch, but you never know. You never know. That's always a possibility.
I think that's an HQ thing. They would have to hire him to do it.
They would have to, yeah.
Officially before he'd be able to do it, because that's not his job, and he only programs for iOS right now. So
yeah, he would have to do that. Very, very true.
How often would that be though, right? If they hired him to do the official app, nothing against the official app, because a lot of people like it.
People use it.
It's not my cup of tea, but if that was the official app, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. No, you're right.
That's just my right. We prefer Cachely, but that's us.
That's us. Well, and it's a great app, but
and thousands of other people, but whatever.
Yeah. That's not what we're talking tonight. But anyway.
No, we're off topic already.
Other couple of news items real quick. Oh, I also want to mention real quick. If anybody's ever cached I know Jesse's done it many times, but it's a different experience caching at 10,000 feet. Trust me. We found a cache. We did an FTF, Jesse, I pulled up my app, my compass, and I looked, and it was we were over 10,000 feet. So I was pretty happy that we were at 10,040 feet or something when we found it. But man, it's rough it's sucking air trying to
it is different for sure.
Yeah, we did. We walked out to the Jemez Falls in New Mexico, and I'm like, this isn't that far. Why am I out of breath? It's like, oh my gosh, well, we're up 8,000, 9,000 feet or whatever. So, it does make a little bit of a difference. At least I told myself that. So,
no, it does. And, while fitness does make a difference when it comes to the altitude,
yeah,
there's also certain people that just get altitude sickness and certain people that don't, regardless of fitness level. And, some people can, they feel better at elevation.
Right.
Some people get sick immediately when they get up there, and there's nothing you can do about it. So,
yeah,
it's definitely an added level of difficulty for sure.
Very
if you're not from, those areas.
Yeah. I mean, we don't live at that. We live at 500 feet, I think is our current elevation, but I'm pretty good at that altitude as far as, I don't get altitude sickness, but yeah, 500 feet elevation. But I do okay up there other than oxygen. So anyway, all right, a couple quick other notes from the news. In the rain.
I'm lower than you right now. I'm at 330 feet.
Wow. Yeah, you are. Well, yeah, exactly. You're not home. You're visiting folks. In case people are wondering.
Visiting family. Yep, this week.
Visiting family. So Ride in the Rain discount code is back, and I don't know if we have it. I will make a banner for it real quick if we don't have it.
We do have a banner for it.
We have a banner for it already. Cool.
There you go. Right there.
There we go. Somewhere. There it is.
For anybody watching the show, you can see the code. For anybody listening to this later on, it's Geocache 21.
Right.
And that is, what is it? For the
all smashed together.
When does that end?
End of July.
So 8/3. So you have a couple days after July's over.
Yeah, a couple days after.
Yeah, and at 20% off. So
that's cool though. And that's included on top of, if you happen to find something that's on sale, you go ahead and put in Geocache 21 and it'll get put in there as well. So
yeah, and it works because I tried it. I bought all kinds of stuff.
That's so great. So thank you, Ride in the Rain, for your support of the show. And thank you for providing discount code. Ride in the Rain, of course, is great. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it a little bit next week as well. We're going to talk about some of the new products.
Good.
Briefly at the beginning of next show. So, okay, last item in the news. So I was contacted 2 or 3 weeks ago by our good buddy Marcellus. And Marcellus told me, he goes, hey, there's an article that's going to come out in NPR. And one of the photos I want to use is a photo you took of me signing the big board for the Texas Challenge, for finding all 254 counties. I said, oh yeah, absolutely, Marcellus. I would be privileged to do that. And so, sure enough, NPR contacted me and said, "Hey, we need your written permission to use your photo in this article." I said, "Absolutely." So, I'm gonna bring it up and show you as well. I can brag on my little photo. Not that it's a big deal, but I'm bragging more on Marcellus. So there's Marcellus. There's my picture I took. I'm so excited. But look, I got a little byline down here. Check that out, Jesse.
So you're not even in the photo, and they had to get written permission from you because you took the photo.
Yeah, I took the photo. That's fine. I was more than happy to do it.
Yeah. And
so it's an interesting article. We really don't have time tonight. Maybe we'll have Marcellus on and we can talk more about it. We've talked, well, obviously having Marcellus on, we talk about this. NPR.org. It's in the show notes in case you want to read the article sometime after the show. Geocaching While Black is the name of his blog. And he says, outdoor pastime reveals racism and bias. And when I first saw that, I was sort of, I wouldn't say taken aback, but I was like, well, I'm a big supporter of Marcellus. I'm not racist. What are you talking about? But I kind of see where they meant. It's hard to put things into a byline as well, or to a headline. Trust me, I was in high school journalism, and let me tell you, I can't tell you how many times I got a headline rejected by our teacher because she's like, no, that's not right. It doesn't sound right. It's like, oh my gosh. So,
well, two things, right? One, a byline has to be catchy, or you don't read the article. And
true.
two, guess what? Geocaching is just like real life.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like some special thing that is totally devoid of any bias, right? It's real life, and there's bias everywhere. So it's going to be bias in it as well as there is anything. So, yes.
And he does a great job, or they did a great job, I think, of in the article, because what they were revealing is not geocachers being biased or being racist, but they were basically saying people that he runs into, the general public that he runs into, is what he was, is really what the focus was. Right. Not to say that there aren't geocachers that aren't racist. I'm sure there are, but that wasn't the point. The point was his just general interaction with the public.
Yeah.
He ends up from time to time having people who are asking him questions about, the byline. Owens, you're exactly right. The byline sounds biased.
All bylines are biased. Biased intentionally to get people to read them, right? It wouldn't be So,
but the article I think was well done. So read the article sometime. I think
that article obviously in the show notes, right?
Yeah, it's in the show notes. I have a link to that article. And I think again, I think it's a good article. I think they captured what Marcellus talks about. So headline. Okay. Sorry, not a byline. Yeah,
it's a headline, not a byline.
Yeah,
Gary, shame on you for not knowing that.
Yeah,
I'm not a newspaper. I don't care to know it, but you do.
Yeah,
your son is rolling over right now.
He's rolling over in his non-dead grave.
He's rolling over right now. He's embarrassed by you.
Yeah, well, he's trying to recover from England losing today, so he's a big football fan, the original football, and hats off to Italy. Anybody in Italy listening to the show, congrats on your win. Okay, and what's interesting also, last little note, is somebody commented on one of our shows that Marcellus was on. And so this person put a note that says, I found this program after listening to an NPR segment featuring Mr. Cad today. I heard about a similar activity hobby called letterboxing, which we're going to talk about some tonight. Both sound like a fun way to spend a good weather day. So I thought that was interesting. We got an article.
I've got my opinions on letterboxing, but we'll wait till we get there.
We'll get there. But it was fascinating that somebody found us because of Marcellus's NPR article. So very cool.
What's shocking, and we're not talking about cache types or anything, but what's shocking is that anybody in 2021 has not heard of geocaching or letterboxing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, letterboxing has been around for hundreds of years. Geocaching has been around for over 20 years. How have you not heard about this? It's all over the world.
Right.
What are those things that people think are bombs? You have to have heard of it at some point. How do you not?
Yeah.
Right?
How is it?
Yeah.
I don't get it. People have all heard of, I won't go there.
You want to say
famous.
You wanted to say it.
Well, I was just saying all the famous people that are out there, if you hear about, Lady Gaga, why haven't we heard of, I mean, obviously there's plenty of people who have heard of.
She's a geocacher?
No, but she's famous.
I was like, oh, scoop.
I figured geocaching would be famous too.
Yeah, I got you.
But it's not. So, all right, let's get into cache types. I found this fascinating. We did a guideline talk show a little while back. Guidelines with air quotes,
not rules, but guidelines.
Not rules, guidelines. It always reminds me of the Pirates of the Caribbean, where he That's a rule. It's like more of a guideline. So let's
But it's been
start
a while
with,
since we've done one of those shows.
well, yeah,
And probably I would say because of the last 2 years, obviously we don't have these statistics and I don't know if they keep them or not, but I would say there's almost as many brand new cachers. By brand new, I mean last 2 years.
yeah,
There are people that have been in the game over 10 years right now.
yeah, that's true. There's a,
They had millions join during the COVID time.
yes.
And obviously there's not a million cachers that have been in since over 10 years. So
yeah, and it's crazy. The Facebook group, just geocaching group, or the geocaching 101 group, they've all blown up. I mean, there's
oh yeah,
thousands of people that every day are, and a lot of them are the same questions, which I know can be kind of annoying, but we should all be as kind as possible to the newbies because
we were all brand new once.
we were all new. Yes. So, all right, let's get into discussing. We're going to start with traditionals.
The original.
This starts from the. These are, again, a lot of these notes I'm going to mention tonight or read to you are directly from the help center. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the word. Directly from the help center. So here we go. Traditional cache is the simplest. This is direct quote. Traditional cache is the simplest form of a geocache. It consists of a container with a logbook and is located at the posted coordinates. That's critical because we're going to talk about something here in a minute.
They're not always have been like that, but they are currently. We know about that.
Currently. Yes, cache containers come in many different sizes, and that's where they stop. That is the exact quote. Yes, did you ever find a locationless back when it was locationless?
I wasn't in the game then.
Okay. Well,
that was pre-me. I didn't start till 2000. Well, technically 2010, but 2011.
Yeah, I had an opportunity. I think I know that there was one person who used to carry around a cane. I don't know if you ever saw this.
Yeah.
They were at CoinFest in Nebraska, and I missed. I wasn't there, but that would have been one opportunity.
Well, I found that one, and it wasn't considered a locationless at the time.
Oh, they changed it?
They changed icons or whatever. I guess it used to.
Oh, man.
I found that one that you're talking about. I was at that CoinFest. So,
yeah.
Well, we both were. Yeah.
AR. We'll get an AR. Hang on, Dave. We're going to get there. AR is actually listed as a cache type, but
it's under unknown category. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's weird too is that there's some wording that they've put into the notes, the guidelines that I find interesting, but we'll get to that one. All right. So let's get into multi-cache because next one down from traditional is pretty standard. We know that. We're not going to get into, we're going by the cache types tonight. We're not going to get into sizes or.
Before we go to multi,
go ahead.
Magic cache, does that fall into traditional with the field puzzle attribute?
Oh, interesting.
Or is that because I've seen several like that. What would you put that as? And I know our producer is going crazy right now because that's his bag. But if I hit a gadget cache right now, I would see what it is.
Good for you.
Put it as a traditional with the field puzzle attribute. Different, right? But that's my first thought. But
can we lobby hard to HQ to create a puzzle cache type, puzzle cache, or a gadget cache?
You mean a gadget cache icon?
Yeah, we need a gadget cache.
We need to have a whole show on that because I wouldn't actually lobby for that.
You wouldn't want that?
No, and the main reason is why that, and this, I know this is funny too, because none of you guys can see this, but we can see Derek behind the scenes. And his head's going to spin when I say this, but the main reason I wouldn't is because the whole argument of creative versus gadget cache. How would you actually define what a gadget cache is? And you don't want to get into another one of those bags, right? Where like we're going to talk about multi and mystery later tonight, but in the multi stages or whatever. But Derek has his own definition.
Derek's definition of a creative cache: to gain access to the log, you have to solve a physical puzzle on the cache container itself.
But that's both creative and gadget caches, right?
Well, no, gadget's a different definition of gadget cache.
Mechanism to access the logbook. We could get into, this is a whole show. It's many shows.
We're not a whole show on this.
But that's the reason why I wouldn't lobby for its own icon type. It's going to make everybody mad, but I like the fact that the unknown category has many different types of caches in it, right? Like AR and everything else. I like that. It's the grab bag of cache types.
The unknown, the
most
mystery.
People hate that opinion, but that's my opinion. So
yeah.
And challenges, that'd be cool if they had an icon type, but I like the fact that they have a what do you call it? A
attribute.
Attribute. Man, I was drawing a blank. An attribute, because it's way convenient. However, I don't know. Challenges are pretty awesome. They could probably use an icon, but that's for another night. We're not talking about changing icons tonight, Gary.
We're not.
We're talking about the actual icons because there's so many people new to the game, and we want to kind of go over those guidelines.
Yeah, and there's parts of the guidelines that always are surprising, even to me, who've been around just past 15 years. So,
and I'm way newer, but I like to push the rules, so I'm a fan of the guidelines.
Yeah, 15 years. Susan and I, we started in 7/7/2006 was our first cache. Founded in Marshall, Texas. It's still active, by the way, which is kind of weird. Most people's first ones are usually gone by now, but
my first cache is still active, and it's right down the street from where I am.
That's pretty good. Your first one, right?
My first one to hide, my first one to find.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. First one we found is still alive, which I think is really cool that it's still out there. So, all right, let's switch now. We got several cache types to cover tonight. Multi-cache.
Yes.
So here's what it says by the definition. Multi-cache include at least one stage in addition to the physical final container with a logbook. The posted coordinates for a multi-cache are the first stage. Fascinating too. I'm sure, Jesse, you've tried to, well, maybe that's only the second stage of 3 is where the posted coordinates are. And you got to go to stage, anyway. At each stage, the geocacher gathers information that leads them to the next stage or to the final container.
So really, and this is where we get into the biggest debate of all of them, I think, is what's the difference? And I know people have their own definition of this, but what's the difference between that and a mystery cache? If you go to a location, there's no physical container, but you read something off of a plaque and then go to stage 2,
right?
Which one would you put that in? And we can't answer that tonight because they can technically fit into each one. And some people can solve it in the field and can do it all in one trip. It's a multi, but if you have to go home and do some other information, then it's a mystery. And there's a bunch of different opinions on that. But, and then the stages between multis, there's a lot of stuff between that too. So,
yes.
And I know they want you to actually visit that first stage, right? Like it can't be a bogus first stage.
Right.
They really want you to visit it to be the true spirit of a multi.
They do. They don't want you to create a fake first stage where you could find it online or something. They don't want you doing that.
No, but multis are different, right? Because that doesn't always apply because intercache, if anybody remembers those, nobody hides those anymore.
Yeah.
Intercache was one, and that was generally a multi. Sometimes it was a puzzle. It's so gray between multi and puzzle.
Oh, intercache?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, just all the cache types between multi and puzzle. It's so gray. Like I don't want to say you almost don't need multi. because it almost always fits into puzzle 2, but it's just that overlap, right?
Sure. Yeah. And some people put in the comments tonight, they're multis and they're kind of funny, I think. And that is similar to your Wherigo, where it's the same container or the Wherigo is.
Yeah, I've seen one. The craziest one I've seen, an example of that is it was at an LPC and it was called the fastest multi or the shortest multi, which is where I got my idea for my
Wherigo.
You open it and the container's right there. It was a lens case, like a contact lens case.
Yes.
Gave you the coordinates to it, and it said, each one was labeled the 1, one was labeled the 2. When you opened the 1, it had an arrow over to the 2, and the final was in the 2.
Right. That was the one I thought about.
Is stage 1 and stage 2, but it was funny. But I mean, that's not a serious.
No,
that's not a serious thing.
It's funny. I bet you got favorite points for that.
I gave it a favorite point because I thought it was hilarious. But
the one with the lens, somebody mentioned the lens cap one where it's got the 2 connected together lenses, and you put
what it was
out of it, stage 1 and stage 2 and the other.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Now, when we talk about multi-caches, though, what we think about the traditional multi-cache is you go to a location and there's a container there. It's containing some information, and it sends you to another location, and that could either be the final or many stages of that.
Stage, yeah.
In my area, not where I am today, but in my area, typically what that'll be is a mountain hike. So you'll go different stages of mountain hike, and obviously there's they're not all like that, but many of them are. There'll be 3 or 4 stages. You have to project coordinates or whatever, go to the next one and keep going. But that's your traditional. We should not say traditional. Your classic multi.
That's a good way to put it.
Not traditional. Yeah. Traditional is another type, right? But
so
somebody that's new to the game, if you're thinking about a multi-cache, that's what you're thinking about.
Yes.
2 or 3 stages that are physical containers at each one. They may not be. They may be many other things. They could be QR codes. They could be anything. But that's typically what you're thinking about, right, with a multi-cache.
I'm a fan of the virtual stage multi-cache, where some of the stages are you can't have all, but some of the stages are virtual.
Right. One of the first multi-caches I found, we're going to talk about what it actually would be called now, but it wasn't at the time. The first stage, you go and it's in a neighborhood, and there were some hints that basically told you to get on your Wi-Fi. You get on the Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi had the code to the coordinates to the next stage, then you go to the final stage. That's called something different now, actually. It's listed under something different that we'll talk about later tonight. But at that time, it was just a multi-cache. You pulled up your phone in the area, you got the Wi-Fi, it gave you the coordinates to the next stage.
Right. Yeah, a little different now, but exactly.
But they're pretty, as long as you have physical stages.
Yes.
The reviewers are generally pretty lenient on how creative you can get with it.
Yeah. In the notes or in the guidelines, it does say they go into, because apparently this was a big item, and so they put this in the notes directly after talking about multi-cache, which is it a multi-cache or is it a mystery cache?
Yeah.
And so they go into this, when in doubt, here's a comparison of the 2 cache types. The differences are subtle but important. And so they go through, and here's the breakdown. They've got if I could not mess my notes up, I'll be in good shape. So for multi-cache, they mention must have multiple stages. Mystery cache may have multiple stages, but not required. Multi-cache, the posted coordinates must be for the first stage. Mystery cache, the posted coordinates may be bogus coordinates, parking coordinates, or for the first or final stage. Thought that was interesting. Multi-cache, the cache can be found by reading The cache can be found by reading the cache page and following the instructions in the field. A mystery cache, the cache cannot be found without calculation or research that goes beyond reading the cache page. So if you're going to go with that route, it's got to be a mystery cache. It can't be a multi. And then finally, multi-cache, if the cache includes a projection, the projection must be calculated in the field using bearing and distance from one of the stages. If the cache includes a projection that may be calculated based on the posted coordinates without visiting the location, then they're going to make you create it as a mystery cache.
And that kind of makes sense, right? Like a mystery you call from home, a multi you should not be able to.
Right. Exactly. So,
it's very gray, and you can absolutely manipulate those as much as you want.
Yeah, what's interesting too is that I don't know if you see a lot of these. I don't see a lot of these projection ones. I like the idea to make a little,
No, projections are huge in Colorado.
Are they?
Yeah,
Texas doesn't have a whole. We don't have a well, I take it back. It's a big state. In my time going from place to place, I don't see it a lot. I've seen them periodically, but not as much. So
it's very regional for sure.
Jeff has a good point. He says, yeah, mystery caches don't have strict definitions like other types. If a reviewer allow it, any other cache type could technically be listed as a mystery if they really want. So yeah, there are some
100%. It's a grab bag icon, right?
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, that's
if it doesn't fit in anything else, it fits into mystery.
If it's in a mystery. Yeah, that's kind of where they've
whatever you want to call it, depending on what you're looking at.
Yep. Yeah, we did. And you're right. Those Puzzle Talk boys did one about multi versus mystery. Yeah, that's a good point.
And thanks really, all that matters is your reviewer allows it. It doesn't really matter what the definitions say. As long as your reviewer allows it, it doesn't matter the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely tried to push those into different categories just to see if you can.
Yeah. So since we're talking about mystery caches, let's switch to that mystery cache type. And I like what they put in I love again, we're looking at the guidelines because I think the guidelines speak volumes as to what HQ wants you to, what they're trying to make sure. Because it's in the help center, and by golly, if it's in there, they're think they're pretty serious about it. So anyway, mystery cache can have many different designs, and here are a few of them. And so we're going to talk about a handful that they put in the notes: puzzle caches, bonus caches, challenge caches, and also get into stages and coordinates. So there's a lot.
Well, that's not even all of them, right? You can also do intercache, geomob. I
love mob caches.
There's so many that are out there.
Yeah. What's interesting is they don't really get into in the notes in the help center. They kind of, it's sort of in different areas. Something we won't talk about tonight, we'll do it on the part 2 show, is earth caches. What's interesting is earth cache in the guidelines is not listed as a cache type.
And in fairness, it is different than every other one because it's a partnership cache.
Yes.
Not in the sense that we're going to talk about tonight, but in the other sense that it was done with another outside agency.
Yeah, you can't get a regular reviewer who, although a regular reviewer might be an earth cache reviewer, I don't know, I assume they could be.
They don't have to be, but they are.
Some can be. Not all of them are. Not all of them are. Yeah, not all of them. Not all reviewers are earth cache reviewers. Right.
But I would assume all earth cache reviewers are regular reviewers also, or have been at one time.
Or have been, maybe. Yeah.
But I may be totally off on that, but we'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, we'll find out. What's interesting is cache types, if you're interested later on, if you want to go look, but the cache types are in this section called 2.1. Earth caches are in the 4.1 section. So it's kind of weird that they don't.
Well, they have very specific guidelines for earth caches. So
they do.
So
Yeah, it kind of needed its own spot
It
for the
did.
most,
Yeah.
So here's what they write about puzzle caches. The posted coordinates are usually bogus coordinates. That's
Usually,
true. Usually. I would agree with that.
Professor Ken said, some puzzle caches are at the posted coordinates.
They
Those
are.
Yeah.
I've got one that is. Well, it's nearby. Boy, I used a gray area there, didn't I? It's kind of almost like a letterbox. I should have made it into a letterbox, but it takes you to the general area, and you got to read the information on the. You have to. It's written in a different language, and so you got to figure the language out, and then it kind of explains where the cache is. And it's right there, but yet it gives you kind of directions on. Gives you even further clues as to where it is.
Well, hence again, the unknown category that you can do pretty much whatever you want to do.
Kind of, yeah. So here's what it says. It says geocachers must solve a puzzle on the cache page to get the coordinates for the first stage or the final container. Okay. All clues needed to solve the puzzle must be on the cache page. Or I'll mention something in a minute. Or on some cache page somewhere. Let's put it that way. And the information to solve the puzzle must be publicly available. That's interesting. They put that in there. Puzzle caches often include a solution checker. That's true. Now there's one built in. Back in the day, there wasn't one, or you can include it. It can be built in if you want it to be built in, or you can use various other ones that are out there. So, but back in the day, you couldn't. The HQ has a solution checker now. You can include if you want. That's not the way it used to be. Before you submit the cache page, post a reviewer note with an explanation of how the puzzle is solved. That's interesting.
Well, you know why we did that, because people would post stuff that it couldn't be solved.
Right. Reviewers' notes are automatically deleted when the cache is published. Yeah, I guess they are.
They're deleted on the front side. The reviewers can still see them.
Viewers still see them. We don't. Yeah, we don't.
We can't see them. Yes.
Yeah, but it's you're not going to get your puzzle cache published unless you give the reviewer some kind of idea of what you're doing.
Well, and the reviewer has the right to not only ask how to solve the puzzle, but what kind of container it is, how you get to it, what the area around it is like, because they're not in the local area always, right?
Correct.
So I've had them ask that too, like what kind of container is it? How do you open it? That kind of thing. And they absolutely have the right to ask that as well. Yes.
And I think we should all welcome all questions that reviewers, they're trying to help. They're not trying to be difficult. They're on purpose. They're trying to, they're promoting the game just like we are.
Yeah, they're not the cache police. They want to get the caches published. They just have to make sure they fit the guidelines.
Right. Yeah, they have to ask the hard questions. And I think some people get upset when they really shouldn't get upset, because in their mind, they're like, this is fine. I know it's fine. Well, you got to convince somebody else that it's fine.
Right. I mean, well, I got an email this weekend. Somebody asked me, I'm trying to get this cache published and the reviewer won't publish it. And it was Earth Cache or whatever. And they said, and so my obvious question to them was, well, did you ask them what you need to change?
Right.
Well, that's what you need to do, right? They want to get it done.
Yeah.
Just ask them. If you're confused about something, whatever cache type it is, okay, this didn't work. You rejected it for some reason. So what do I need to do to change it? Don't just go, oh, okay, I'm not going to publish it now. Ask them, how do I get it published? What do I need to change to get it published? And they absolutely want those caches out there. They're cachers. It's not like they hire some outside company. As a matter of fact, they don't hire anybody. It's not like they've conned some outside company to do this, right? It's cachers that are trying to get caches published. You just have to ask them, what do I need to do to change it?
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing too is I've had people go, they sent me a note and I read it, but I'm still waiting. It's like, what are you waiting for? It's like, well, I'm waiting for them to tell me more information. Did you ask them that? Because they do thousands of caches.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I mean, I've had there are people who are like, I don't know what you're waiting on because they're not waiting. They're not thinking about your situation unless
Yeah,
you bring it to their.
a whole other show, right? Which we could easily get into.
Yeah, you got to bring it up because they're not going to just they've moved on, but if you want their attention, they're more than willing to jump back in and help you. But
oh yeah.
Okay, so puzzle caches we talked about, and there's a whole show, Puzzle Talk. It'll be on Tuesday night. We're going to do a really cool show about really old puzzles, really old puzzle caches. So tune in for that Tuesday night, 8 p.m. right here on Geocache Talk. So same bat time, same bat channel. Bonus caches. This is fascinating because bonus caches, for many years, nobody ever heard of a bonus cache.
They weren't
now.
Really for a while.
What's that?
They weren't really common for a while.
No. Well, you know what's caused the boom of bonus is Adventure Labs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adventure Labs basically resurrected bonus caches big time. So in the notes, bonus cache clues for bonus caches are often hidden in one or more other caches by the same cache owner. Bonus cache clues should not be placed in another bonus geocache. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Yeah.
About daisy chaining them together. What's interesting is that, tell me, Jesse, I'm sure you like this idea, but I wonder, and we have reviewers in or listening too, if they want to mention or want to comment on this in the chat room, please jump in. Just Finding Our Way and other people that are reviewers. But I've told you about this one that we found. Well, we solved the puzzle. We couldn't find the container, but that's another story. That's for another show.
Right.
That's for another show. But we solved the puzzle, and the puzzle was there was clues in two other traditional caches.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think they were still active caches too. You had to go through and look at dates, and you had to look in there, and the cache owner on these particular dates put information. And based on those two caches, you had to go to the cache page, find those two caches, and then there was a third location that they were using, and you had to triangulate from there.
I love those. We have a lot of those in Colorado in the mountains.
Really?
Absolutely love those type of caches.
So it's interesting that they used other traditional cache, two other traditional caches to do that. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
So we have those a lot here in Colorado, and it'll be like, because obviously the theme is typically, mountains. They'll have one on one mountain, one on another mountain, and then you have to get those two locations or some information out of those to find the bonus cache on another mountain. Those are extremely difficult to do, and you have to buy into the whole series. But it's fun to do those. I love that version of bonus cache.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. The bonus, yeah.
Now, I'll get into it when we talk about daisy chain, but there's an obvious downfall to that. So,
yeah, we'll get into that. So bonus caches obviously are huge right now because of Venture Labs. People are putting out bonus caches left and right. Kind of cool, I think. I mean, people are
that too, which kind of falls into the daisy chain rule. But first, now you and I have been fortunate; we've got to play with a lot of Adventure Labs. But the first Adventure Lab set that I got, I put it out, and we've talked about it on the show before. But there's a library, and there was another thing that happened there too, but that's a different story. But the way I put mine together was there was a video for each one, and it asked a question based on the physical location of the library plus some information in a video.
Right.
And you had to put those answers together, and each one of those gave you a hint about a local cache. Now, it wasn't a bonus cache, and we don't have to get into all the rules of it, but because you could solve it without it, right? You could get the cache without that, but it gave you a big hint for that. Now, here's kind of the daisy chain thing. 2 of the caches that my lab caches gave hints to have gone missing since.
Oh, no.
So now it's a backflow of I have to go back and redo a bunch of stuff in the background.
Yes.
Which you can see how that kind of – you can absolutely see why the daisy chain thing is a rule.
Yeah.
You know, 1 cache messed up, if you're daisy chaining, could take out like 15 caches.
Right, exactly.
It's like multi-level marketing for caches, right? It's like a terrible idea for, you know, it seems cool while they're all working, but you take one little peg out of there and the whole all the dominoes crumble, right? So
yeah, it's like when you go, oh, I'm going to make this cool 12-stage multi, and then lo and behold, somebody comes along and goes, oh, your stage 6 is gone. Like, crap. Then you're trying to figure out what happened, and then everybody's blowing up about, we can't finish your multicache because your stage is gone. It's like, all right, give me a chance, because now you've got basically 12 possible points of failure on your multicache. So just know that.
I know we kind of skipped over it already, but that's kind of the problem with multicaches in the first place, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you have to think ahead that, do you really want to have, just going into it, you got to know that you're going to have to maintain a lot. So making a 12 stage may sound like something wonderful, but not always. Oh yeah. I've heard about that.
So that's a protection or a triangulation cache.
Right.
Again, very common in Colorado. And this actually, the comment is there's a Colorado triangulation cache that has not been found in over a year. Nice FTF for someone. The secret behind that is that's a Denali 41 cache.
Right.
I can tell you that one is listed as a T3.5. In most parts of the country, you would list that as a 5 terrain.
Right.
I'm gonna throw that out at you. So if anybody decides you're going to go get that, if it says Denali on it, add like 1.5 stars. I would argue that it's 100% accurate. And I agree with that, except most of everybody else like fudges it, But that's a good example of Colorado caching. It's the, very, very common type out here. Plus, add a 1.5 stars. I'm just going to
add a little extra. Yeah, I hear you.
In it too. So,
yeah, crazy. Okay, so obviously challenge caches are on the list. Challenge caches encourage geocachers to set and achieve fun goals. The seeker has to find a set of geocaches defined by the cache owner before they can log their find. The container must be placed at the posted coordinates, either as posted coordinates or as a visible additional waypoint. I thought that's interesting. They worded it that way.
Well, you can do an offset cache. So we've had this discussion before, but I did one of those and people did not like it because they didn't read the cache page. It was a challenge cache, but it was like 150 feet off of where the posted coordinates were.
Oh, and they hated that.
Clearly listed it on the cache page, just like the rules say, as a waypoint. It said final geocache and it gave the location. It was clearly visible. But people would say it was not there. Didn't find it. I'm like, did you read the cache page? Because it's
read it.
Obvious where it is.
You got to read it.
They would get all kinds of mad because it wasn't, it wasn't right in town. It was out of town to go to it.
Yeah.
Well, I was there. Well, were you? You aren't really there. You didn't really read the cache page. We know who read the description immediately.
That's right.
Showed up on the scene. So
you did not read it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So
we would never do that, of course. You and I would never not read the description.
No, we would never do that.
No,
and almost mess up a Jasmine completion.
And that is correct. Challenge cache is not a cache type. That is very correct. It's under the unknown category.
It's listed under the unknown. We're still under unknown, right? Mystery caches discussion.
Challenge is one of the best types of caches, but it's not its own cache type.
No, not yet. Maybe it never will be.
Good. There ought to be a show about it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we do have a challenge talk.
What? Are you kidding me?
Well, we're good about that. Yes, we got a show about that. That's awesome. Just had one. You were on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Okay, so they mentioned about stages and coordinates. Like all geocaches, mystery caches must involve GPS use.
Now, this is
Very
right here. Hold on. We're not
critical.
going to pass this comment up. Terraviator said you could put in the chords for $100 bill in the description, and it might not be found for months. That would be a fun test.
To see,
We could do that. Like, put in the coordinates for like a free geocoin in a
right?
cache description. Just see if anybody reads it.
See if anybody reads it. Right.
Yeah, first one gets it.
Right.
We have to do that. Now, nobody tell anybody, but we might do that.
We might do that. Yeah, it's amazing that you know.
All right.
Read the descriptions. Yep. Like all geocaches, mystery caches must involve GPS use. Like multi-caches, they may have multiple stages, but are not required to do the following. Sorry. So the posted coordinates of a mystery cache may be any one of these. They can be bogus.
Mm-hmm.
They can be parking or trailhead coordinates. They can be the first stage. They can be the final stage.
Mm-hmm.
If the posted coordinates are not for the final stage, the final coordinates must be added as an additional waypoint.
Mm-hmm.
The final stage cannot be more than 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers for all those non-imperial people out there, for the posted coordinates. This allows the cache to show up in nearby searches. If the cache includes a projection, the projection may be calculated based on the posted coordinates without visiting the location. These are all part of mystery type items. Now, since it mentions this, the final stage cannot be more than 2 miles. Now, a multi-cache
can be more than 2 miles.
Can be more than 2 miles, which I think is
physical stages too, right? And a Wherigo as well.
I think it's fascinating that, and I don't, there's one, as you know, we've talked about before. There's one where some of the stages are actually in Greenville, but I know that where the cache is out and it's clear out West Texas. So
those are multis, not mysteries, right?
They're multi. Yeah, it's a multi.
Multi doesn't apply to them.
Right. But that's fascinating, that I could I guess you and I should do this sometime is I could put a stage 1 in town and put the final in your town, and you could put a stage 1 in your town.
Yeah, but you're encroaching on a partnership cache now instead of a regular multi.
You are, which we're going to get to here in a minute.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about one other type, and then we're going to get into some other kind of odd items that are part of what we just talked about. Actually, let's do that. Let's do that first. We'll come back. I want to talk about letterboxes, but let's skip that over. Let's skip over letterbox for now. Let's get into these other weird little items that come up in the notes. We were talking about bonus caches.
All the little bits.
Yeah, they're little bits and pieces that come about because of what we just talked about. Bonus caches. This I didn't know, and you've run into this quite a bit because, like you said, you did those adventure labs.
Yep.
Which had these, but I did not know this exactly the way that it was worded in the notes. So here's what it says. It says bonus cache clues. Bonus cache clues can't be in another bonus cache.
Right. That'd be daisy chaining.
Not supposed to, although I think some people might end up doing this, but you're not supposed to
do that.
Yeah. No geocache can have more than one cache dependent on it.
Correct. So that's how it should be.
Should be. In the example below, and it's in the show notes, but you'll see it. There's 2 mystery caches on the right side of the screen are not allowed. If one preliminary cache is disabled or archived, 3 caches become unavailable instead of 1.
Right. It's
so that's known as
Right. That's
daisy.
what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, they're trying to avoid that. So they don't allow you to chain your mysteries. So, which though brings up the point of, have you ever found one where I found some like this where three traditionals, you have to go find these three traditionals. If you don't,
Okay, though, that's just one level. You don't
right,
have to be traditional to find something else
right,
Yeah. Now I have found ones that have backdoored that in.
right.
But I'm not going to call them out, right? Because I know the people personally, but a virtual that you had to find another cache, that was a mystery cache, that you had to find other caches to find that one. And it's kind of one of those weird backdoor versions of a bonus. But
Yeah,
caches, by the way, should be of the mystery type.
correct.
However, if you do a search on geocaching.com with the bonus tag in it, you will
Yes.
find other cache types. So again, it's whatever the reviewer will allow, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Technically, there's supposed to be the unknown cache type every single time.
Right. It's supposed to be.
But hey, if it's approved, it's approved, right? What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Here's an interesting question: could you write bonus in another cache type and it not be a bonus cache?
Oh.
Would they allow that in the title?
Oh. I see what you're saying. Kind of like, can you put the word challenge in a challenge cache and not be a challenge cache?
Right. Here's a
Get
good
away
one.
with it?
Yes, you can. But
You're not supposed to.
Pizza Ninja says, so an adventure lab that is sequential with a bonus isn't daisy chaining. That's kind of fun. You do have to, I guess that's the exception to that rule, huh?
Well, no, because you're not daisy chaining. You're only going. The Adventure Labs Yeah, I follow you. Yeah, that is. It is.
While it's not daisy chaining,
It's not. But
yeah, it's 5 different smileys.
yes,
It's not actual. There are different cache types. So I think would be an exception to that rule.
yeah, and oh my gosh, once in a while, I try to stay off social media, but once in a while, I'll read something, and let me tell you, people will get into a knockdown, drag out fight about Adventure Labs. It's just
People need other hobbies.
they do. Other than they need to get off Facebook. Just get off
social media. They're not adult enough for social media, and they need to find.
They can't handle it because some people are like, well, it seemed fairly innocent. Somebody was like, my Adventure Labs are not showing up. Pardon me. My Adventure Labs are not showing up on my sequential days. Like,
of course they wouldn't, because they're not counted.
Yeah. But other people are like, well, it's showing up for me. So I don't know. But anyway, people are like, that just opened the Pandora's box, and people were just diving into this thing going, Venture Labs are, from the devil and we shouldn't have them around. And other people are like,
that closed-minded attitude that we rail against, right? Like, just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's not fun for other people. You shouldn't get just because you don't like it. Don't do it. Go do something else. Don't do it if you don't like it. Don't take it away from everybody else.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, so it was interesting. I thought it was fascinating to read about this, about the daisy chaining. That was kind of interesting. So, okay, let's jump over now.
If they allow daisy chaining, people would tie tons together, and one missing cache would destroy a whole area.
Oh, it would.
It would be because everybody would daisy chain their own caches.
Yes.
If I had 40 caches out, I would daisy chain all mine. So you had to find all my caches in a row to get the other ones, right? So why would you do
that? Yeah. That would be, not good. Okay, so another item. and we'll get into some attributes that are showing up as cache type in the notes, which I think is
I'm already saying that I'm glad that we have a second part to this show because we're barely scratching the surface.
Yeah, we are. We're going to miss. There's a bunch of them we're not going to get to tonight. Stay tuned
Maybe
for
I don't think 2-parter is going to cover it.
Show number 2. All right. So let's jump back to Letterbox. Now we've kind of covered the bonus cache and all the extra items that go along with that.
Tonight, then, right? We're going to push that one to the next time, probably.
Yeah. Which one?
Okay. Let's talk about Letterbox then, because I have a lot to say about those.
Okay. Yeah. Letterboxes type. It's interesting. I did not know. I knew it was old.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is confirmed. I mean, this is in the help center, geocaching.com. So
it's got to be true then. It's on the internet.
I'm just reading it on there, but somebody could correct, but it says letterbox hybrids. And we're talking about why it's called a letterbox hybrid. Some people don't know that it's not a true letterbox. It's a letterbox hybrid. Letterbox hybrids are based on an older kind of container search called letterboxing. Letterboxing began in 1854. Can you imagine what that was like back then? That must have been pretty cool. What do you find in a letterbox back in 1854? What's that?
What was it like back then?
You're funny. You and I are not that far apart, my friend. But can you imagine what was in a letterbox back in 1854? Maybe something
hand-carved stamp.
Cool. Yeah, probably.
Guess what's now? Not a hand-carved stamp.
No. And of course, they put in before GPS existed. Yeah, kind of. Several years before that.
Yeah.
The finder follows written instructions to discover the container. Each letterbox contains a logbook and a rubber stamp. When letterboxers find the container, they stamp the logbook and with their personal stamp, and also stamp their own notebook with the stamp from the letterbox as a souvenir of their visit. But they don't take the stamp. That's not the souvenir. They take a stamp of it, not the stamp itself. The stamp and logbook remain in the letterbox for the next visitor to use. That's letterboxing.
They shouldn't take it. Yeah.
Fascinating point. Go ahead.
Do you do it that way? And I'll be curious about the people that listen too. Do you actually, when you go to do a letterbox, do you bring your own book to stamp their stamp into? And do you stamp their book with your own stamp?
If I remember, I do. I have a stamp that we use. I don't have a book. I don't have a separate book. I probably need to get my own letterboxing book to take their stamp and make a stamp in mine.
Where would you get such an awesome book like that that's waterproof and
right in the rain?
Get that.
There you go. Right in the rain would be perfect.
There you go. Perfect.
No.
They make a great book for that.
Actually, it wouldn't. The ink won't stick to that.
Will it not?
I don't think so. Not regular ink.
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to agree with you because I don't know. I actually have one of those. I have a book just for letterbox stamps, and it's a moleskin notebook. So I've never used a Write in the Rain one.
Yeah, because if you use certain pens won't write on a letterbox or a letterbox. Certain pens won't work on a Write in the Rain because it won't stick to it.
So here's a good question that can lead into the details of this. GeoVet says, do letterbox hybrids have to be posted on the letterbox page?
No, because they're letterbox
hybrid. But they can be cross-listed. It's one of the only ones that it's okay with cross-listing. And since that question was asked, I have to ask, have you ever found a letterbox that's not a geocache?
I have by mistake. Twice.
So you didn't go on like Letterboxing North America and search intentionally?
No, but twice I have found, well, one of them I found, even though what was nice was we found it and I was like, what I thought, oh, we found the cache. And then we started looking at it and was like, this is really weird. And then, of course, Susan read the description and said, oh, the cache, the actual cache said, just an FYI for everybody, there's a letterbox that's nearby. That's not the geocache, but just so you know. It's like, oh, okay, well, great. So there you go. And then the other one I found, because I found a cool place that I thought would be perfect to put a geocache.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, somebody who does letterboxing said, that's a cool place to put a letterbox. So when I got there and I started putting mine in there, I was like, what is this? And I pulled it up. I was like, oh, somebody put a geocache here? What's going on? And I started looking and I was like, oh, no. So I went to the letterboxing website and found the information about it. So, yeah.
I've done both. I have found a letterbox by accident when searching for geocache, and I have also intentionally found a few letterboxes that were not geocaches, not cross-listed. There were only letterboxes on Letterboxing North America.
Right.
And I'm not going to go into the whole disparaging that other hobby. However, they do not have the team to maintain their website that Geocaching HQ does. I'm just going to put it that way. Don't expect them to be as accurate as geocaches. They are not maintained as well. That may have changed in the last several years, but if there's any letterboxers, real like non-geocaching letterboxers in the chat room, let us know. But it was the percentage of ones that were still there and not gone was pretty low when we tried to get into letterboxing. And we actually wanted we opened our own account. We wanted to hide some of our own. We wanted to get into that as a parallel game, and it was discouraging. I'll put it that way.
Yes,
they do not have volunteer reviewers that geocaching does.
No, they do not update.
I'm not bagging on it because the actual concept of a letterbox or a letterbox hybrid is really cool, and if done right. And I don't mean the power trails where they just, use 35 millimeter can and you stick a stamp in it.
Right.
Technically to call it a letterbox. I don't mean those. I mean the ones where you actually get there and there's like clues and a story and you have to follow the coordinates and stuff like that. And those are a lot of fun. When you find one of those, it's something special. But most are not like that.
Right.
Like, have you even found one like that?
I have not found a really good letterbox hybrid,
because I know where you found the most of your letterboxes because I was with you, and they were not like that. They were a power trail letterboxes, which technical letterboxes. They weren't.
They were technically they fit the description because they had what was the size of that stupid stamp about the size of a trackable. What'd you say?
Probably smaller. I'd say the size of a fat Crayola marker top.
Yeah, it was really tiny.
Yeah.
But it was technically a stamp in a technical sense, and it was in the cache because it says in the guidelines, it says a letterbox hybrid container must contain a rubber stamp and a logbook. Must contain a rubber stamp and a logbook.
But a rubber stamp can be tiny.
Yes.
I mean, think of one letter head on a old school typewriter.
Yes, that's what it was.
I have seen a technical letterbox in an Altoids tin. No, sorry, no, not Altoids. What's the other, the smaller one? The green,
the little
the breath strip.
The fresh
three ones. They had one shoved in one of those. It was
gosh.
Yep.
Yeah,
you can stick them in all kinds of stuff, but
I want
the definition, but they're not the true hybrid. They're not on the spirit of letterboxing.
No. And Terraviator says, "What constitutes a stamp?" Is like, well, that's right.
Yeah.
What does constitute a stamp? That's kind of what these were. I mean, technically, you could take that one tiny letter that was in every one of those Power Trail letterboxes we did and you could probably put some ink on it and make us and take that because it was a letter. And did you look at them close when we went when we did some of them?
But it also makes me think of tying back to another cache type of cache that we talked about. And what if there was many of those letterboxes? Each one was a letter, and they all spelled out a clue, and that led to a bonus cache. That would be
kind of cool.
Yeah,
but we just signed the log and moved on as fast as we could because we were doing 140 of them.
Different.
Yeah. I would like to do one sometime like you're talking about that is a true letterbox. The trick with it is, though,
you're supposed to carve your own stamp. In Letterbox, you are. You're supposed to carve your own stamp.
Are you supposed to? Technically?
And how cool would that be?
Yeah.
But I'd be afraid after all that work, it just gets stolen, right?
That's true, too. Yeah. People would see that as a swag item and they just take it.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the trick with a letterbox hybrid, though, how would you do this, Jesse? Because I like the idea of.
I've hidden a few of those myself. So,
what's that?
I've hidden a few of those myself.
Have you? The Shawshank Redemption kind, where you tell somebody where to go, as far as like, go to this rock wall and walk up this rock wall to this tree, and then turn right.
Actually, a little bit of both. So I've done a few. Now I've hidden a lot for people that they're not under my account, right? So I've hidden letterboxes for events. I've only hidden 3 letterboxes for me personally under my account, but I've hidden probably 200 or 300 for events and stuff. And it's been a little bit of both. I've done the geo art where it's technically a letterbox, but it's not.
Yeah.
Like the ones we found. And then I've hidden ones that and I found ones also like that you go to a location, they tell a little story, and you have to like kind of navigate your way through the park till you get to the final. Those are great, but extremely rare.
Yes. Fishing Kitty saying that they found a series like that, Jesse, where the letterbox hybrid series spelled out a word, and that was put into a puzzle cache checker, and it got final coordinates to the bonus cache.
That's somebody that really wants to do something good for the final.
Yeah.
Right? They're not just trying to like rack up stats.
Right.
They're doing really good.
Yeah. But I like the idea of a true letterbox, but
Just Finding Our Way it says all of their letterboxes are true and that you have to follow descriptive instructions.
Oh, I love it.
Awesome. That's what the spirit of that cache type is.
That's awesome.
But most of them aren't like that.
No, they're not. But I love that idea. So now this is interesting. As we're going to get to a point where we're wrapping through it.
Dave wins, though.
What's that?
Houston, Texas Dave wins for the night. Make a hashtag stamp for a letterbox. That would double up.
Yep. Okay. It's good practice to remind other cachers on the cache page that the rubber stamp is not a trade item, but intended to stay within the cache. Cache owners must replace the stamp if it goes missing.
Mm-hmm.
All that good stuff. Letterbox hybrids and their underlying cache type. When you add a stamp to your cache, the cache type changes to letterbox hybrid, but the guidelines for the underlying cache type still apply. That makes it interesting, except for one cache type.
Trumps everything.
Which I don't know if it's still a cache type or not. I've checked the rules and see if it's still listed. I'm kidding. We'll get to that in a minute.
You have 2 of these active right now.
I do. And I wish people would find them more often too. If you have a traditional and you add a letter and you add a stamp to it, it's supposed to become a letterbox. That's the way the rules
that is correct.
If you have a multi-cache and you add a stamp to it, it becomes a letterbox hybrid. But the rules still apply for all the multi-cache portion of it, but it becomes a letterbox hybrid. If you have a mystery cache, you add a stamp to it, it becomes a letterbox hybrid.
But what trumps all of that?
If you add 75 stamps or one to a Wherigo, it does not become a Letterbox hybrid.
No, it's still a Wherigo. Wherigo
Well,
trumps it.
Wherigo, it trumps everything.
And by the way, I tried to get around that rule earlier
really?
on. Yeah, I tried to use a Wherigo in a mystery
Right.
in a Letterbox, and that I could find no way to make it pass. If you use Wherigo at all in any part of the cache, it's a Wherigo.
Cool. I guess. That's crazy.
Rules with that one, and they wouldn't let me pass.
They wouldn't let it pass.
No.
They wouldn't let you pass it. Yeah. Caching Dead New York. He does have a very famous Letterbox hybrid travel bug hotel.
That's something we're not even getting into tonight, right? Like travel bug hotel.
No, we haven't talked about that yet.
Any cache type.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. You could do a travel bug hotel, I think, of everything, even a Wherigo.
There are Wherigo travel bug hotels. That is correct.
That'd be cool. Wherigo.
Automatic points.
Jeff brings it up. Wherigo because of the required use of the Wherigo app. Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
And also because it's the coolest cache type out there. So,
well, that's not what it says in the rules. It does.
The rules verify that because it trumps every other cache type.
It does trump every. Yeah.
Just gonna throw that out there.
A couple more tonight. We'll wrap up. Wherigo caches are GPS-enabled adventures in the real world. They use GPS technology to guide players to physical locations where they can interact with virtual or physical objects. And I wish there were more like that too. We'll talk about that here in a second. Wherigo caches can have different designs that overlap with other cache types. So if a cache,
a whole other thing, you cannot rush through this one. We're gonna have to hold on to this one because
there's a whole show about it. You can go see
Wherigos can do what every other cache type can do, but the other cache types can't do what Wherigo can do.
Yeah, if a cache uses a Wherigo cartridge, it has to be a Wherigo cache.
Yes. A Wherigo can emulate a traditional, a mystery,
yep,
a multi, a virtual. It can emulate every other thing, but they can't do what Wherigos do. Just gonna have to point that out.
Yes. You know, it's interesting though. I wonder if it would be better if Wherigo could cross over where you have a traditional. I guess not. I was just trying to think of a way to. Well, again, that's kind of for another show.
On this for sure, right?
Yeah, we probably need to revisit Wherigos because
because this is a good place to break it anyway. Because I will contend that Wherigo can do what every other cache type can do, but reverse isn't true.
Yeah, there's a lot that is just finding a way brings up a good point, and several people have brought up that.
And I'm going to argue that, but we're not going to get into it tonight. But go ahead and bring up the comment.
Yeah, Wherigos are being watered down.
Because you can't do an adventure lab if there's no cell service, but you can do a Wherigo.
Yes, you can.
You can download it offline. Once again, Wherigo 1, Adventure Lab 0. Just going to throw that
out there. Yeah.
I'm just saying the superior cache type is Wherigo. I will debate anybody on that one, but let's save that for the next show.
We'll save it for its own show because there's a lot that I think people don't realize that you can do that people don't really even know about, because in today's world, Jesse, you know what people think about? Reverse Wherigos. That's all they do.
Yes, but you know what? That's the LPC of Wherigos.
Yes, it is.
But however, and this is a whole other show. I don't even want to get into it now because it's way late tonight. But the reverse Wherigo does not have to be the LPC of Wherigos. You can make it a lot better.
No, and I like the way you did the one in Colby, which was a multi-cast reverse Wherigo.
Yeah. So just because it's reverse Wherigo does not mean it's just point a button and you get the information, right? Sometimes you have to answer questions. Sometimes you have to go to a sign and get the question. Like, you go to a location If you get the answer right, then you get to get the next stage and get to find out how far you are from it.
Right.
But you get to just automatically push a button to keep doing it. Those are watered down because it's easy to build.
Right. And they got a solver.
Like Tom said, reverse Wherigos are fun if you don't cheat. If you don't use that one that's floating around everywhere, you can't cheat on them.
Right. Oh, right. If you do it right. If you don't use
the codes, of course you're going to cheat because it's out there.
Right.
But if you build your own reverse Wherigo, which we have a template on our website for,
yes,
people can't cheat on it.
Yeah, you can't use the solver. The solver won't work on those.
Again, we can't get into Wherigos in the last 5 minutes. I can talk about it it could be its own podcast if it needed to be.
There you go. Barb was asking about doing a Wherigo offline.
And you absolutely can because, and once again, I'm just talking about my experience, right? But Colorado, the ones in the mountains have to be offline because there's no service.
They have to be.
Yeah,
you're not getting service up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up with one more, and then we'll be done for tonight, which is webcam. Webcam caches this is what's in the rules. In the guidelines. Webcam caches are a legacy cache type. So they're already listed as dead.
They're dead. They're dying.
You cannot submit new webcam cache pages for review, but you can find those that remain active and log them. So sadly, they have taken webcam caches and they've listed them under location lists or other very things, which tells me something, Jesse, that I think we don't realize. We have to be careful of if you're wanting to do webcams. And yeah, Owen points out there's less than 100.
There's 93 active enabled in the U.S. right now.
Yes, and the thing I want to mention is that no, they're not quite dead, but you know what, Pizza Ninja? Here's the thing. Before Location List was finally killed, because they killed it, it was very much like webcam. There was a handful left, and people are like, oh, well, there'll still always be a handful left. I mean, until they get down to 0. No, they got down to maybe 8. And then they said, okay, we're done. Killed it. And they got rid of the rest of them. So I'm wondering.
I could absolutely see that happen with webcams.
Right. I'm wondering at what point is it below 50? And they say, okay, we're going to wipe out the rest of them. So if you're still thinking about grabbing a webcam, some particular location, you need to sort of plan and go get it because there's no guarantee that webcam will still be there. And
it kind of affects challenges now too, because it's hard to do because challenges have to be available for people that start the game today, right?
Correct.
So if you're in the US and you try to put out a challenge, which it would be silly to do it anyway, but for 100 or even now 94, find 94 webcams, you would have to travel outside the country to be able to do that.
Right.
So it's starting to impact that too. But, we probably need to get into this in another show too, but there's probably some etiquette that needs to happen on webcams, right? Because you know that if you cheat on the webcam and just take your photo,
yes,
if it's a bad webcam, it's probably going to be disabled or archived.
Well, but yeah, and
that's the way doing that. Like, what do? Do you get it and just claim it until they have it while you have
credit?
Not do that and let them archive it or what? Yeah,
that's and something that Jeff brought up is that they're still allowing webcams on Waymark, so you could do it as a Waymark, but that's really for
do Waymarks count for anything?
No, well, they count for Waymarks. If you're Waymarking, it's its own thing.
Yeah,
it's its own world.
Here's what would fix waymarking right now. We need to do a show on that coming up too, right? We need to have a waymarker come on the show. But if they would just list waymarks like they do benchmarks, it would explode the popularity of them.
Sure.
They don't count as a smiley, but they're still on your stat page. People would flock.
Yeah. If they were listed somewhere, I think that would be.
But that's a whole nother show. We need to get Is there any waymarkers out there? Let us know. We need to bring you on the show.
Well, Brian's a big waymark fan. I mean, I wouldn't want to waste trying to get Brian on. We don't want to necessarily waste a show about Waymark.
I understand that, but we need an actual player, right? We don't need the president. We need an actual player.
We save those for.
Obviously, he's a cashier and a player, right? But I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On the ground.
Yeah. No, I agree. But webcams are dicey now. Webcams. I mean, what do you do? Well, I'm probably both of them.
But it's not going to be popular because it's a bad answer. I'm going to log it anyway.
You're going to log it, yeah.
And it's been broken for 5 years and it's still active. I'm going to log it.
I was there. I logged it.
I'm not going to miss it just because you haven't caught up with it yet. I'm going to still do it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you log it, I guess. What are you going to do? I mean, because a lot of times, like you said, you go look and that person's gone. They haven't been in geocaching for
the game forever. So you either log
10 years.
Yeah. You either cheat and log it or you don't and get it archived. What are you going to do?
Yeah, because if you mention to somebody and if a reviewer gets wind of it, not all reviewers, but some reviewers would go jump on that and go, oh, no, we got to get. I don't think they've been directed to get rid of them.
Well, we don't know that, but they should.
Maybe.
And I know we're running super long, and maybe we can close out with this, but they should get rid of them if they're not active anymore. The selfie is not a geocache type.
No.
So too many of those are out there, and they've actually cleaned a lot of those up, but they need to get rid of them if it's not a viable cache anymore. Like That's like people logging a cache or traditional cache just because it's old, but the container's been gone for 5 years. That's silly.
Yeah.
That's totally silly. But
it's interesting too, because we didn't get a chance to do it. This is again for another show, but they kept alive the oldest in New Mexico. This is for another show too. They kept it alive by switching it, the cache type. Should it have been archived?
Yeah, we can do that too. Like when we talked about earth caches before, one of the oldest earth caches was not originally an earth cache, so it kind of got old. It was made old, but whatever, you know.
But that one technically is still alive and is considered the oldest in New Mexico, but the ammo can's gone. And so what they did was they switched this is back when you could do this. They switched it to a virtual and kept it alive.
Hey, look, if the reviewers allow it.
If the reviewer allowed it, they did.
All I've got to say is Ape Cache.
It's still the old, right? Ape, there you go, Ape Cache.
Ape Cache. And we'll end the discussion with Ape Cache because we know the rules with that one.
But we needed, Ape Cache. Boy, that's All right. Well,
at least a 2, maybe 3-parter.
Yeah. There's some crazy parts out there. So, all right. Well, I guess we need to wrap up and we will see and our producer's back to stop the show. So, all right.
Wrap it up and know that this is part 1 of at least 3.
Part 1 of at least 3. So, good night, everybody.
May your finds be many and your DNFs be few. May the terrain and difficulty both be less than 2. And whatever it is you're looking for, may it find its way to you. And may we all meet again.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Please email us your comment at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.